It's been an eventful week. So I had originally planned on reducing my hours in October, and that was the plan basically up until October, and a bunch of different things have happened. So the person that was in charge of scheduling has changed at work, and so my schedule ended up not changing because apparently the guy who used to do scheduling didn't tell anyone about what the change was going to be. But it ended up not mattering because I got a call from the truck driving school that I was signed up for, and they asked me if I wanted to come in basically a month early because they just happened to have an opening in their next class. So that the class actually starts closer to the end of October, so it's going to be about 2.5 weeks away. So I have to do my DOT physical soon and all that good stuff. But I am officially signed up for truck driving school, and I have this entire binder that I have to memorize and learn from. I don't have to have my learner's permit before I start school, but it sounds like I'm going to be getting it shortly afterwards, which means I have a little bit of studying to do. I've already done this before, so most of it's not any new material. I also discovered that if I do the studying for my endorsements, except for hazmat, that I can take all the endorsement tests at the same time as I take the test for my learner's permit. So hopefully I'll be starting school at the end of October with my learner's permit and my doubles and triples endorsement, as well as tanker. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with hazmat yet, but I'm probably going to get that a little bit later. So as far as work goes, I'm actually going to be staying on the same schedule, working 5-day weeks for just the next 2.5 weeks until my class starts. I actually talked to the guy who's in charge of scheduling now, and I talked to him about what was going on with the school, and they're really supportive actually of what I'm doing. So what's going to happen is while I'm in school, I'm going to be working weekends at my current job, and then we'll just kind of see where things are after the end of my truck driving school. That way I'll have tons of money, I'll still have a job as soon as I get out of truck driving school, so I can be very selective about who I choose to work for. And so I think that's going to work out perfectly, and I'm really happy about my decision to go this route with truck driving school. So I wanted to talk about why I decided to go the private school route and not sign on with a large carrier, and why I've decided to go on this direction in general. So I was looking at truck driving jobs, and especially entry-level truck driving jobs. I just wanted to see exactly what was out there and what my options were, how much I would be making. And as far as I can tell, it seems like I can make about 20 to 30% more, possibly even closer to 50%, depending on exactly who I work for and if I get lucky or not with the job I'm at. So it is significantly more in my first year if I decide to get my CDL. And so that starts bringing my timeline for paying off debt down to something that's actually really pretty reasonable. I could probably get it paid off within a year. So once I saw that I could potentially get my debt repayment down to less than a year, I mean, that's basically what I need to do. I can knock that out really quick, and then I can definitely go on a lot more adventures. I'm willing to invest a year's worth of time into getting debt paid off. The other thing is, as soon as I'm done paying off my debt, I should be able to save up for the next step in my journey here really pretty quickly because my wages are going to be higher, and they're going to be even higher at that point. So I should have a lot of options, assuming that everything goes as planned, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. So that was a pretty obvious decision. When you start talking to people that have actually gone signing on with the mega carrier route, basically what happens if you sign on with those large carriers who will train you for free is then they put you under contract. And when you get put under contract for a year or 2 years, depending on the company, it's not necessarily a good deal for you, because if, say, the working conditions aren't what you expected or the pay isn't what you expected, you don't have any options. Basically, you end up having to pay back the school, and they can charge you a lot of money for paying back your schooling fees. And it ends up being actually cheaper just going to a private school. So there's that. Also, you're really limited on the type of work that you can do. Most of those large carriers, especially for their new students, you're stuck doing long haul driving, dry freight, that kind of thing. And so that's not really what I want to do. So some of the LTL companies actually do have programs, and I had actually applied to one of them, the FedEx Freight program, and that is a much better program. They didn't want to force me to sign a long contract like a lot of these other companies do. And there's other companies that do this, that have similar programs like Estes. A lot of the union shops have this type of program as well. But again, it really limits your options for, that first 3 months to a year. So it's better and it's definitely an improvement, but it doesn't give you a lot of options. So I started really looking at doing the private school route when I started looking at the other entry-level jobs of what you could do once you got out of private school. And what I discovered was that almost all the entry-level jobs out there will reimburse you for your tuition for truck driving school, and you don't have to sign any sort of commitment. And there are truck drivers in nearly every type of field except maybe heavy haul that will hire you and train you, and so that's awesome. So I have a lot more options. I can do tanker or flatbed, and it may not be, the highest paying jobs, but the rate of pay is for sure higher for these entry-level jobs if you go into the private school route. And so it just made way more sense for me to go this route. It also looks to me like I can get through the whole driver training process a lot faster and start making real money if I went the private school route. And fortunately, because I live in a car and I don't have large expenses, I was able to save up the money to pay for the private school fairly quickly. So that's why I decided to go that route. It just made a lot more sense, and it should get me where I want to go really pretty fast. I do have a few concerns about the timeline that I'm working on here, because I should be done with truck driving school right before winter, and I know there are fewer jobs over the winter, but I should have enough options, and because I didn't quit my job, I should have the ability to find a decent job. I can be patient and choose something that works for me. I just have to decide exactly which route I want to take. So let me talk really quick about what types of jobs I'm going to be targeting when I get out of truck driving school. I'm probably going to start actually applying for jobs while I'm in school. That seems to be the way to go. And we'll see what comes up and see if I can get something that works really well. But there are an absolute ton of different types of jobs that you can do with a Class A CDL like I'm getting. So here's what I'm going to be targeting. So I keep going back and forth about this one. The people that pay the best and would definitely keep me in shape is doing food service. Having said that, it's a really crazy schedule, and they work really long hours, and it's very physical, like punishingly physical work. I don't know. I mean, I'm in pretty good shape for my current job, but doing that kind of work, it seems really extreme to me, and I worry about hurting myself and injuring myself and ending up with large hospital fees as a result of doing this work. It would only be for a short term, but the starting wages are really high for food service, and they go through drivers like water. And so that's always going to be an option. I don't know if that's what I'm going to choose. It's probably not, but it would get me out of debt the fastest, assuming I don't end up with any medical bills in the end. So that's something that I've thought about, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to keep thinking about that one. The next logical direction that I could go would be LTL, which is doing freight, so it's less than truckload freight. And I would want to probably be doing local work. They do have line haul work where you just drive between warehouses, and that would be okay as well, but it sounds like local drivers do some of that anyways. Honestly, just driving between two warehouses sounds kind of boring to me. Would actually prefer to do pickup and delivery, so P&D work, or city driving, depending on who you talk to and which company you're working for. And so that definitely has some appeal, and actually the pay for that is pretty good. Sounds like the starting wages would be about 20 to 30% higher than what I'm getting paid right now while I'm in training, and then significantly higher after that. And some of these companies are union, some aren't, but doesn't seem to matter because the benefits are actually really good at almost all these companies. The only downside is one of my goals once I get done with paying off debt is I want to be able to live anywhere. And of course, after you have somewhere between 3 months and a year of experience, you can easily change jobs and go somewhere where the job is better. But I was hoping that I could find something where I could do a little bit more exploring of the countryside while I'm working. So then we get into the more traditional types of trucking jobs, which are the dry van and the refrigerated trucks. And those hold some appeal to me because those definitely will get you to see the countryside as much as possible. But unfortunately, they have a couple of downsides for me. It seems like the pay for those types of job is about the same as what I'm making now, and maybe even less while I'm in training. And so that doesn't sound like a good deal to me. It's possible that certain companies are paying better, so it's just something I'd have to look into. Obviously, for the right deal, for the right amount of pay, I would do it. I also don't like that I would just be sitting in a truck for, 10 hours a day or whatever the legal limit would be for how they're having me drive. So that's something to consider, and if the right deal came along, I probably would take it. So again, I would probably only do this until I have my debt paid off or I am able to change jobs, one or the other. So I'm not really sold on going that route just because I don't think the work environment's right for me. I don't think the pay is quite there. And then we get into more interesting types of work. So flatbed. At first, I didn't really pay much attention to flatbed. I thought it was exclusively for drivers with more experience, but it turns out that there are a lot of flatbed companies that'll hire you and train you right out of truck driving school. So there are over-the-road flatbed drivers, and if an opportunity like that came up, I might jump at that because you do get to get out of the truck and mess with the loads a lot more. You get to go to a lot more interesting places. So I'll definitely be applying for jobs like that. But that's the plan for now. I'm probably going to focus on LTL and flatbed driving and see what opportunities I can get there. But for right now, I have a lot of studying to do. I want to make sure I can solidly pass my written exams for just my learner's permit and also for my doubles, triples, and tanker. And so I can get that all out of the way, get all of those tests done at the same time so I don't have to pay for those multiple times. And we should be off to the races here in a really short amount of time.